everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us on our news show. We're going to be talking about this week's news that's going on in a galaxy far, far away. Well, it's going on here. It's about a galaxy far, far away. And it happened a long time ago, so it's not really news, is it? It's more of like reflecting on things that happened. But anyway, you get the deal. With me, as always, is James and Lacey. And this is our live show. If you're in the chat, thank you for joining us. If you are listening on your podcast app, you're like, it's not really live, John, is it? It's just on your podcast app, and that's cool either way. But my point in bringing that up is however you take in TRB, whether it's on a podcast app or on YouTube, subscribe to your preferred platform. So if you see our new channel, maybe you're an audio listener, you like us on SoundCloud, Spotify, or Apple, or Podbean, or Pocket Cast. There's a bunch of them. We should be everywhere. Also, do us a favor and head to youtube.com/@ the little @ sign from your email stuff, The Resistance Broadcast. So youtube.com/@ The Resistance Broadcast, and click subscribe to the channel. We are getting close to 1,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for us. It allows us to re-enter the YouTube Creator Program because we had to start over. We started this new channel, so all of your support helps us a great deal because there's a lot of channels with a lot of subscribers, and we're just trying to get our way back up the hill a little bit here. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting us there. And if you are, of course, watching now on YouTube, just hit that button, just in case you haven't yet. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment, all that good stuff. But if you are with us in the chat, sit back, relax, have a good time. Leave some comments if you'd like, and we'll engage with you as we go on. But James, Lacey, how we doing, folks? We're really going to get into it here because there's a lot to talk about. But before we do, let's just acknowledge the fact that Diego Luna is heading to the Golden Globes, and he is the second Star Wars actor in history to receive a Golden Globe nomination. Can you guess who the other one is? I know it's not Adam Driver.
Isn't it? Didn't Pedro Pascal get one, or
right?
is it Giancarlo Esposito? I think it's Mandalorian related.
It is not.
Well, it'd have to be because we have it. Oh, it's not.
No.
Oh, Fennec Shand.
No.
Or what? She got a Saturn Award for Best Female something, right?
Right.
That would mean no one is what I meant to say when I said Fennec Shand.
Okay, who was it, John?
I don't know.
Alec Guinness.
Oh.
Alec Guinness in a losing effort.
Wait. I thought this was for Star Wars.
Yeah, he was in Star Wars, the first one.
He got a Golden Globe for Star. Oh, wait, that's right. I'm thinking Emmys. Sorry.
Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, 1978 Golden Globes. He was nominated. He did not win, but he was nominated.
Can you get Golden Globes for television? I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm so confused right now.
I'm so confused.
I think James is confused, but that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the one that's confused. I'm thinking because
you can do TV and movies are Golden Globes.
That's weird.
Emmys are
Okay.
TV.
That's why I'm so confused because I'm like, it's either movies
Oscars
or
or
TV,
movies.
and we're clearly talking about
Yeah, Golden Globes
got one. So this is a TV related thing. Okay.
Yeah, Golden Globes is the one where they're all sitting at a dinner table and it feels casual, and Ricky Gervais tells them all how terrible they all are.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
It's honestly my favorite award show over the Oscars because it's just chaos sometimes. But so congrats anyway on the nomination to Diego Luna for Andor. We kind of thought that was coming, so I'm sure there's going to be more nominations for that series as we go forward because it is that more artistic, angled version of Star Wars.
I think we're going to get a lot more awards for that.
Like supporting stuff. Have they not announced that stuff yet?
I think that's it for Golden Globes, but I don't know if Emmy Awards have been revealed yet for
I don't
this
believe so.
season, so that we may get some more there. But anyway, pretty cool that he got it. And you know what's kind of crazy? This is maybe a hot take, whatever, but I said this throughout the TRB live during Andor is I don't even know that he was the best in that series. So I think there is more award nominations coming, but I am happy for him that he got.
I thought Stellan Skarsgård was the best. Him and Genevieve O'Reilly were probably my favorites, with the follow-up of Andy Serkis, only because Genevieve and Luthen were in Stellan Skarsgård were in it more. But that doesn't take away the impact that Andy Serkis had. on the show.
Andy Serkis, yeah, and what's her name? Who played Daedra? She was really good too. But
oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I'm blanking.
But cool. It's cool seeing Star Wars get that recognition. George Lucas, he was never really into awards. He didn't like the guilds and stuff like that, so it wasn't his scene. He was more of like the outsider. But I think sometimes for fans, they like validating their fandom of something because nerds get made fun of for things we like. When we're outside our bubble,
true.
And you could say like, my dude got nominated for a Golden Globe, so you can eat it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Before we get rolling into talking about the news, just so everybody knows, next Thursday we are going live. That's going to be on December 22nd, so our last show before Christmas. And we're going to have a holiday party, our live show. We're going to talk Star Wars, of course, but it's going to be more lighthearted and fun. And we're going to do a giveaway in the spirit of the holiday season. And we're going to do some unboxings. The three of us are going to unbox a gift, so to speak, and take a look at that with you on the live show and maybe dress all festive and that sort of thing. So we hope you join us. Bring some eggnog, bring some blue eggnog, whatever you got, and we'll have a good time next week on our TRB live holiday party. So that should be a good time. You guys excited for that?
Of course.
I love festive things. Not that you can tell. I don't
Lacey's
give it
had the
away.
same
I kind of
decorations up
hold
for
it.
a while now.
I know. I don't really like show how festive I am. I just kind of I like being festive. But.
And if you're a patron at the Admiral level or up, there's an after party. So we're going to be doing our bi-monthly call where we get on Zoom and hang out with our admirals, generals, and spice runners. And after party, little VIP after party. So if you're not,
we're gonna play games, give away some cool stuff.
Yeah, so. And if you're not too tired from the live party, come to the after party if you're an admiral and up. So it's always, those calls are always a good time, but I feel like during the holidays, especially with I'm not gonna have work the next day, it might get a little fun, a little more fun with a couple drinks, who knows. But anyway, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to talk about this news though. There's a lot of cool stories to get into. Some what's going to happen and some exciting about the future type of stuff. And of course, Boba Fett. So you guys ready to talk?
Yeah.
I am.
All right, James. Resistance, report us.
It's the Resistance.
Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I don't even know where to go with this because it wasn't shortly.
You did the thing. You just did the thing that you hate.
I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Yeah.
Like that whole, a little show called,
Yeah, that's a little different, but yeah, but still the same idea. Yeah, I did do it. But it's, I don't know where to start with this because just very recently we were like, so that's it, Rogue One is
you
gone.
Mean Squadron.
Rogue Squadron is gone. And then, but 2 weeks ago, we're like, oh, well, then maybe it's back. And then just now we get confirmation that it pretty much is back. Patty Jenkins took to Twitter, and she's not the only one. Side note, we could talk about DC right now, but she's not the only one that is using iOS notes to write something out and screenshot.
Oh, the notes. We missed those, COVID took away those for a while, but they're back.
Starting it by verbalizing sigh.
Yeah, sigh. But we got this open letter about everything that's going on and how messed up it all is because it was this thing. Patty Jenkins, she posts this thing and says, and I'm going to paraphrase the whole thing, but it's long story short. I was working on Rogue Squadron. Then it came up that I needed to do Wonder Woman 3, and that was priority for me. So I said, I got to go do Wonder Woman 3. That needs to be done. And I worked it out with Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy and everybody that after that was finished, I'd be able to come back and do Rogue Squadron. And then now I'm in the mix where I'm finding out that Wonder Woman 3 is not happening. Now, this whole thing has more to do with DC and the cancellation of her movie than it does about Rogue Squadron. But if you're looking at it, you go, oh, then this has nothing. That Rogue Squadron was never canceled. It was never off the books. It was, to be fair, as they said, pushed back indefinitely. We don't know exactly when. It's still happening, but we're pushing it back. We took that as, yikes, that's done. That's not happening.
Which is a normal response, by the way, to these types of things. Yikes.
Then Wonder Woman 3 is canceled. She's very upset about it. She comes in and explains the whole situation of how she put Star Wars on the back burner to do this, and now they're taking it away from her. And as Star Wars fans, well, I mean, as DC fans were like, oh yeah, that sucks. This is awful. More power to you. This is a bad situation. As Star Wars fans, we go, so let me just ask you, what does that have to do with Rogue Squadron? Are you still doing Rogue Squadron? Is that what you're saying? And I think that's in the tea leaves here. It looks like most likely now Rogue Squadron is back because it's not confirmed. It was next on her thing. This other thing's canceled. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna let John go first. Go ahead, John. I feel like only because the whole Henry Cavill thing, I'm gonna let him go first.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, is Henry Cavill attached to Rogue Squadron? Because
please,
they'll send Henry Cavill. They'll send Henry Cavill to the New York Stock Exchange to ring the bell and be like, "I'm back! I can't wait to fly an X-wing." And then like the next day,
it's like Henry Cavill, like, Tom Cruise, Maverick, Top Gun. You know, like it's all
just kind of crazy that October they were like, "Yeah, you can say you're back." And he's like, okay, I'm back. And then they're like, nah, all this is gone.
Well, that was before James Gunn.
Yeah.
Which means that whole James Gunn thing, did that happen that fast? I can't imagine that being that fast. So
I think he came in, big style and said, this is, I'm wiping this and this, canceling
but I guess
that,
what I'm saying is
around.
The behind the scenes process of changing a CEO of a major studio has to have been happening for a while behind the scenes. And then you would think they would say like, "Hey, Henry, don't go out and say stuff," but he does.
Maybe
he goes on Josh Horowitz. Josh Horowitz goes, "I'm so happy I get to say this. Welcome back, Superman." And he gets a big smile on his face. He's all happy. He's like, "I can't wait to play a hopeful version of the character." He even says that, and then they just rip his heart out again in ours with it.
But you also have to admit that we just went through the changing of a CEO very quickly and very drastically over at Disney.
And who knows how quick that was too. But I guess to bring it back to Rogue Squadron, I still don't think this movie's gonna happen. I don't
even after her saying that.
Yeah, because I don't know that anything she said here like changed anything for me. Like all from what Kathleen Kennedy said, and I wrote down everything that we know from the timeline of quotes people said and when they said them. So I'll run it through it quick and try to give my reasons why I think this way. I would love to see it. An X-Wing movie, cool. That'd be awesome.
I mean, we all said that when they made that announcement video. We were pumped.
Yeah. So December 2020, they announce it with that very interesting video with Patty Jenkins and the rollerblades and her flight suit and talking about her dad was a fighter pilot. You could tell it meant something to her. And I remember us saying we really liked that a lot. And that was really cool. And we know a big produced announcement like that was probably not meant for a webcast. That was probably meant for a big screen at Celebration in August, which was canceled that year. So they waited till December. They gave it to us then. And then she was saying she left Rogue Squadron after a long and productive creative process, which made it impossible to film and make its release date. That's not productive if you're not making.
That sounds like creative diffdifferences that we like to hear from
There's nothing productive. Like that's the opposite of productive if you're not going to make your release date. And when the movie was announced,
imagine if you put that in like normal work terms, if you said to your boss, like, look, I'm being super creative and productive, but I'm not going to hit that deadline. Would they sit like,
you were productive today? Yeah.
Great.
No. So I think by she means productive is she was trying to put a positive spin on the process, and that's fine. A lot of this seems like a PR jargon, and you got to read between the lines, in my opinion. I wish she was more candid about it and like sort of was like burn the room down, but I get she wants, she's a working director. But to me, when they released it, this took over that slot, that 2023 slot, because everyone else left. Benioff and Wise were supposed to do that. They left a year before that.
Right.
So they had issues, and there were multiple reports of them having issues. So then she goes back to Wonder Woman 3, her commitment to that, because she did the first two. If I was a director, I'd want to finish that too and complete that sort of trilogy.
The trilogy, yeah.
Regardless of how the second one was received. And then Lucas, the thing that bothered me the most was she said Lucasfilm essentially reached out to her to make a new deal with her to say oh, well then, all right, that's fine. Go do that. And then will you come back then and do Rogue Squadron? And she comes back and do the deal. I don't like the idea, as a Star Wars fan, I don't like the idea of Star Wars needing people that much, especially someone who only has done 3 movies. 2 were good, 1 was not good. Star Wars should be where you're I'm sorry, we'd love to work with you. We're packed. It's a packed house. I don't like the idea of Star Wars trying to be like other shows. When people compared Andor to darker shows, I'm no, other shows should want to be like Star Wars. Other movie directors should want to be working for Star Wars. It shouldn't be well, will you come back after you do the follow-up to that bad Wonder Woman movie?
I do find it interesting.
I don't like that.
And it just happens to be this person. It's not like I'm picking this because it's DC, but it is interesting that you have people like Zack Snyder, who pitched a whole movie to Lucasfilm with his own ideas that they passed on. And he eventually went to Netflix, Rebel Moon or whatever that's coming out. Can't wait to watch it. But they passed on him, but then they're asking her to come back. It just seems to me like they're why are they so desperate for her to come back? They can't find any other directors to do that movie.
Okay, but let me jump in, because this is my take on what she's saying. She says, I originally left Rogue Squadron after a long and productive development process when it became clear that it couldn't happen soon enough. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she's saying, okay, the way I take that is it's been a long process. It's very productive. Things are going on. And it just, the timing is not happening. She's not going to be able to finish this movie. She wouldn't be able to finish this movie if she wanted to do it right before she had to go over and do Wonder Woman. So in that, it's not like a creative difference problem. It's her saying, we were working, but it's just a timing issue. And then she said, because of that, Lucasfilm asked me to consider coming back. So instead of abandoning all the work they've done, they'd be like, why don't you just finish it? Why don't you just finish it later? And she says, in fact, I am still on that project, meaning Rogue Squadron, and it has been in active development ever since.
And she
James,
said,
I think there is a piece here, though, that this often happens with these kind of things, is John and I come at it from what has been heard and what could be said between the lines, and you're taking it for literally what she's saying.
You're taking her word. Yeah.
Yes. Whereas we've heard numerous things from all different types of people that said that things are not going well. Things are not what they should be.
But also, she says herself, I don't know if it will happen or not. That doesn't sound like people were like, Rogue Squadron's back. And the director herself is saying, I don't know if it's going to happen. So
I'm hoping it does.
And then this past May, you had Kathleen Kennedy herself, who doesn't come out and say stuff like this often, said, Rogue Squadron, we have pushed that to the side. And then a few months after that, Disney finally removed it from the calendar and the schedule, which makes sense because, as Patty Jenkins points out, they weren't able to make it in time. My question is, from a perspective of optics, we keep rooting for Star Wars movies oh man, and I get nervous when they're making one because it's everything that happened, Lord and Miller. We all have this sort of I hate using the phrase PTSD about I hope this movie gets through to the final finish line.
Right.
With Rogue Squadron, if they bring it back now, this all comes with it. The same way Solo dealt with all that stuff. And I don't know that it's if it was an episode 9 or Rogue One 2, I'm kidding with that, but you know what I mean? A movie that they have to make. I'd be all right, they got to push through. They got to push through. But this, it seems like it's a one-off. It's going to come with a lot of baggage. And if it's not great, they're going to be you pulled her all the way back and change your whole plan, because them bringing her back means something else is getting moved around. They're gonna be like, for that. So it's like one of those things where if they bring her back, there's a lot of pressure now that it has to be good. And her last movie is going to be, because now Wonder Woman 3 is not happening. Gal Gadot's not there. So her last movie before Rogue Squadron going to be Wonder Woman 84? I don't even know if I trust wanting to see that. Like, maybe I'd rather have another director in that chair doing this, like, especially after Top Gun. Like, how are you going to match that too? So there's just so much to this. And I say that, and I don't want people to think that I'm just like raining hate on this. I'm just looking at everything that's been said by the president of the studio, by the director herself, and the optics of this, and the history that they've had with these film productions. And people are chomping at the bit to kill Star Wars and Lucasfilm. I want them to succeed more than anything. This seems shaky to me. And the fact that she said, I don't know if it's going to happen, reminds me of Rian Johnson now saying, like, I hope to God I come back, when he had a 3-picture deal inked. So it just, I just don't know. I still
It's
feel
also
like it's
a weird feeling when you're hearing from major trades that her outline and story treatment for Wonder Woman 3 got completely scrapped. And then she's releasing this statement being like, yeah, it's not moving forward. I'm not moving forward with it. It's not moving forward. They're not doing it anymore. That then Star Wars kind of feels like her second choice. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess this isn't working, so now I'll just go back to Star Wars. And it's like, okay, but from what we understand at the beginning of the year is Star Wars wasn't going well either. So it's just, you get nervous because you're like, you want to see her succeed. You want to see these stories be told, but you have to question what is the right step moving forward, because clearly James Gunn's saying this isn't working. We need to move forward, which, by the way, he replied to her tweet and said, I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional.
Yeah, it's
like,
and
that's
James,
such a strange statement to leave after a tweet like this.
James, I want to hear your thoughts on this. But the last thing I have, as far as like, evidence, I guess the best way to put it, or the schedule is, right now their movies are, like 2025 and 2027 or whatever, like the next 2 slots, I think. So unless they, like, Iger goes back to adding 1 a year or something like that, you have Damon Lindelof, who's next, they said. John Kasdan, like, confirmed that Lindelof is making this movie. And then you have our next story we're going to talk about, Sean Levy, talking about he's definitely making his movie, and that's
calls it
the
a
next
golden
one.
ticket. Yeah.
Then you have Feige, who's still doing something. So when would this movie even happen unless they go back to adding, going back to that movie a year thing? You know what I mean? So I hope it gets made. And I hope it's awesome, as always. But I don't know. I'm glad that you're more optimistic about it. But tell me, like, make me optimistic.
I don't think I can, because I agree with what you guys are saying.
He's
honestly.
like, get out.
No, I agree with what you guys are saying, because I understand that there's a different perspective, and I do generally take the people for what they say, the actual people and what they say for what it is. Like, I have been someone for a very long time that has defended the Rian Johnson thing, because every time it gets brought up, they're like, oh yeah, that's still happening. And everybody's like, wait, what? That's still happening. And it's like, it was announced, and it hasn't been canceled. So, but when I look at this stuff, my thing is like, it seems like the defense of like why this isn't happening is because we're hearing, and I don't know what, it's hard to follow what is really going on in, I guess, like Hollywood, but in a lot of like these settings where they're like, people want that clickbait title. And she even references it in here as like the attractive clickbait false stories, and why I walked away, and why, and what killed it. I mean, she's referring to Wonder Woman 3 here and stuff, but it's like, there has been numerous times when James Gunn has been that almost like flashy tweet when somebody reports a story and James Gunn comes out and says, I don't know who your leak is, who your rumor is, or your person
source,
is your source, but they're wrong. And he's constantly saying, that's not true at all,
Yeah.
you know, to a lot of people. And it's like,
Which I appreciate. I love the transparency.
I agree. I like that too.
So my thought is not every studio has a James Gunn, but it's almost interesting to think like if Kathleen Kennedy was like James Gunn, would she be on here saying, nope, that's not true to all these things about why
Imagine if
she was not with Rogue Squadron anymore and stuff. So
Yeah.
I do sort of take it as face value as it's not even her complaining about Rogue Squadron. She's complaining about DC and Wonder Woman. And in her statement, she's saying, you know, there's this stuff and that, and the only thing holding it back is we've heard. But I'm like, I don't know, who do I trust? Do I trust people that have heard and their sources and it's kind of gossipy rumor stuff, or which can be true, or does it seem like she's saying Rogue Squadron was going fine, but there was a timeline issue. I wanted to do Wonder Woman. That was my priority. Now they've pulled that out from under me. Side note, though, I worked out another deal with Lucasfilm. That's still in active development. You know, they asked me to come back and finish the movie when I can. So it's like, that's fine. And that's what it seems like here. So I have to sort of take that at face value. Although you do bring up a good point. There are rumors. There is kind of background talk.
And the message itself is very
maybe that's
defensive.
not just that. Maybe there was more going on and she had to leave for other reasons. But
right. And the message itself is pretty defensive if you look through it, just like the language she chooses, the way she, you know, starting off with sigh, like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this. So that you have to kind of take it at that level. I also honestly am coming from a personal perspective of I've worked in PR. I've worked in that kind of marketing mindset of how do we spin this in a positive light so that even though it's bad, it's not coming across bad.
Oh, there's no way her publicist didn't read this like 6 times.
Right. So to your defense, James, of taking it at face value, I'm coming from a place of I've heard excuses before or heard not necessarily lies, but I would say like tweaking or like twisting a little bit so that it comes a different way, even though the truth is, hey, this didn't, I'm not saying this situation in general, I'm just saying, or this specific situation, I'm saying in general, like it could be a terrible thing. They fired her, her script was terrible, whatever. And she could say, hey, it was a great experience. It just didn't work out because she doesn't want to look bad. And they don't want to look bad.
I'm going to point out, you guys do have a really good point. I think it was John that pointed out that she specifically says, what was it now? I hope it happens.
I don't even know if it's going to happen or something to that effect.
I don't even know if it's going to happen. So now I think that's pretty good evidence that it's a little bit of a toss up right now and it's not definitely happening because she wouldn't have said that. So that's pretty good evidence for that. Now, that also being said, I've defended Ryan for the same thing, where when you get asked about things enough times, she's not getting asked a lot, Ryan is, but sometimes
she will be anytime moving forward. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. Sometimes you just sort of change up your answers. And I think there's a very real answer of saying like, yeah, I mean, like, I hope it happens. Like it's on the schedule. I'm the one, I got cast, you know what I mean? But it's like, you can still, and that moves into the next story. We have our next story about someone who has happened is making a Star Wars movie and he's still getting asked like, yeah, but you got to realize getting the Star Wars movie and being official is not necessarily official. And he's like, yeah, I hope it happens kind of thing. And it's like, that's not an admission of like bad things are happening. And it's probably not going to happen. Sometimes you just use wording that's like, God willing, it happens. I hope we get there and it does become a real thing.
Right.
And my like rant or whatever you want to call it on this, like my points on this, I didn't cite one rumor or trade or anything. I just went by everything that was said by Kathleen Kennedy, by Patty Jenkins, the dates on when things were announced and stuff, and her statement. And all of those things mixed in with the optics of their history with film projects. This is supposed to be all right, we went through all that. We're starting fresh. We're going to do it right this time. And if you start up with this again and it stumbles, it's like, what are we doing? Our president has a year left on her contract, assuming like this gets into production.
This can't be the end of her legacy, basically.
Yeah. So
she wants to end on Indy 5. She does not want to end on Rogue Squadron.
I'm rooting for the success here because I don't want to give fuel to people who like think Star Wars is dying. I hate that. But
I
we
don't
also
think
have
it
to
is. I think it's pivoting, and I think we're seeing that all over entertainment, not just Star Wars. I think we're seeing it in DC, we're seeing it in Marvel, we're seeing it in Disney. Everyone is pivoting because they went one way during COVID, which nobody in this world could have ever foreseen how that was going to change everyone's life, entertainment, scheduling, production, supply chain, all these things. And they're now pivoting back to what was before COVID to, okay, how do we, first of all, make up the money we lost during this time period, especially Disney? And how do we move forward in this new era of streaming and movies and everything else? And I think that that's playing into this and definitely into what James Gunn is doing. I'm sure there is a piece of creative choices that James Gunn's making. Obviously, with the Superman thing, he's writing his own movie, so it's a different kind of superhero monster, if you will, over on this side. But with this in particular, I think Disney and Lucasfilm are pivoting. I think they're trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step? And I don't think it's wrong to take more time to figure that out. But as a fan, it sucks. It sucks waiting more time before another movie. It sucks hearing that things aren't going the way they should be going and things aren't working out and that, you know, we're not getting a movie for however many years. And who even knows if that's going to happen now? It's not great. So I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping everything gets figured out.
Imagine if James Gunn was the president of Lucasfilm and people were like, James Gunn's getting fired, and he's like, no, I'm not.
What do you mean? Oh,
just on Twitter. Yeah. He's just like, no.
Honestly, I wish, I was saying before, but I really wish Kathleen Kennedy did that kind of stuff and just corrected people. But at the same time,
Kathleen Kennedy opened a Twitter account.
But at the same time, she did do something similar to that in the spring with her Anthony Bresnikan article, and she caused even more problems with her interview where she was trying to clarify some stuff. So I don't know. I think some people just unfortunately are in a position that no matter what they say or what they do, they're going to get criticized, and she's definitely one of those people. Whereas James Gunn, I think, is just in a different position, and I'm not sure why. But I just think he is.
It's just a harder time now because, you know, there are a lot of people with, like we're doing now, you know, YouTube channels and blogs and social media.
It's a different world. We live in a different world than we did.
People just made movies. You couldn't access them. They were a billion miles away from their ears were a billion miles away from you, and they just made their movies. And now it's just like we have the CEO of DC responding to some idiot who has a YouTube channel. It's wild times. We're in wild times.
And then that guy just made a video with red eyes on James Gunn and made money.
That's fun. Yeah.
He literally posted the video being like, here's my response. And I'm like, why the red eyes? Who started them? Please stop doing that. I kind of want to make thumbnails just to spoof that.
Well, you know what? It's unfortunate because Henry Cavill can't do that anymore now, unfortunately. So
I know. Look, put Henry in Star Wars.
No.
Why not?
No?
Leave Henry alone, please.
I want him in Star Wars. Although, you know what? I heard someone say that could he be the next Bond, and I'd be okay with that. He'd be a great Bond. Although they're rumoring the guy from Bullet Train is going to be the next Bond.
Who's that?
That's the rumor.
There's always rumors.
Aaron Johnson, I think his name is.
Aaron Taylor?
The guy Aaron Taylor Johnson, the guy that played Kick-Ass. They're saying he's the rumored Bond.
He's really good, but I don't see him as Bond.
Neither do I, but I didn't see Daniel Craig as Bond either. And
yeah.
You know who's not going to be Bond? Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Who was just in Connecticut on the Christmas train. And I was about to go to that. And I didn't. And I'm sad.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to the next story. I mean, there's still a lot more going to be happening with Patty Jenkins. You're not going to, that name's not going away for a little bit until something gets officially confirmed.
I did want to mention quickly, people in the chat were talking about that good point that we bring up every once in a while, especially about Patty Jenkins, that maybe Top Gun Maverick affected this as well. And I still believe that's a very solid point that James said as we were walking out of the movie theater when he turned around and said, So is this going to affect Rogue Squadron? That's literally what he said when we were walking out, like down the stairs, around, out the door of the movie theater. He said that.
Meanwhile,
mean,
I was like,
yeah. It feels a little bittersweet because I think that's a very valid reason why they could have not moved forward with Rogue Squadron. And if that's the case, then like, you know, how people I called it, or I felt like I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I sort of said it before I had heard it anywhere else, you know.
Yeah,
But
you said it literally. We were walking down the stairs of the auditorium.
So then, but that being the case is like now looking at what she's saying and saying how it's still sort of in development and she could come back and do it, is that then that makes me wonder, well, you guys saw Maverick, right? You know, I'm like, imagine, now you have to try to top that in a way.
Right. Top that. Yeah. The crazy thing though is putting myself in her shoes. If I was working on a film like that and she did this whole video where she's getting into an X-Wing on like down, you know, she's going down the road like in Top Gun where there's planes flying around, and then she sees Top Gun Maverick and she walks out of the theater and she just goes, well,
she's like,
damn.
darn it.
Yeah.
You just go home and you just hold the delete key as it erases your whole screenplay.
So it's like somebody's like making a mafia movie in like 1970, and then like The Godfather comes out and they're like, well,
it's been fun.
Maybe I'll try a boxing movie. We'll see what happens.
I mean, they'll still do it. Like there's always like The Jungle Book, and then there's like Andy Serkis's Jungle Book. You know, it's like like there's always like one movie that somehow like comes out around the same time that's like the same thing. But
you mean like No Strings Attached and then Friends with Benefits, where it was the exact same movie?
Oh,
just one has Ashton Kutcher and one had Justin Timberlake.
You can go through
Armageddon,
through
Deep
like
Impact,
The Prestige, and The Illusionist and stuff. Like plenty of them that's happened. But let's move on to this next story because we want to talk a little bit about Shawn Levy and how he was doing an interview and talks about the honor of making a Star Wars movie and how he's going to be, what he's putting into this movie because of how important it is to him. And even more so comments on kind of what we were talking about before is like, you know, do you think you're actually going to make it to the process of day one shooting? Because we have been hearing a lot about people who were announced and then it never happened. And this is him coming out and saying, yes, I'm going to do a Star Wars movie. You can't stop me, basically. I'm paraphrasing that. That's not his quote, but that's
pulled in an article.
You
Shawn
can't
Levy
stop
says,
me. Yeah.
James is like, oh.
Yeah, it says you can't stop me.
I am inevitable.
Hyphen Shawn Levy, hyphen James Baney. Like it's like me quoting him.
Yeah, and we have some
like
questions in the chat.
The
yes, it is Shawn Levy that is known for Deadpool. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started on this one. Lacey, do you want to kick us off on your thoughts on Shawn Levy about this interview and how this may actually make it to filming?
This is with Collider.
It is with Collider. Yep. So this is an interview from Collider. They spoke to him about a bunch of different things, but then of course, as always, Star Wars does come up. It's always that like little thing that they always ask about, which I get because you get clicks because we all want to know everything about Star Wars. But so his most recent project was the Adam Project, right? Which was on Netflix with Ryan Reynolds. And then he is now doing Deadpool 3, which as we know has Hugh Jackman in it, which is going to be epic. Talk about pressure on that film. But he then goes into working on Star Wars and he said, quote, here's my attitude. I have this golden ticket into a galaxy far away. He forgot the second far, but that's fine. I'm going to devote myself to developing a screenplay that gives me the privilege of making this movie. I don't attach to things because it looks good in a trade announcement. I attach to things that I intend to make. And you better believe I'm not going to squander the juiciest of opportunities. I'm going to work my A off, bleeping for the kids out there. But first, I got to work my A off on making Deadpool. So it's definitely longer term planning. I truly appreciate this because he's saying, look, I'm not doing it because of the prestige that comes with Star Wars or saying, hey, I did a Star Wars movie. I'm doing it because I like Star Wars. And it is a dream golden opportunity for me to work on this franchise. And we've always said it here and we stick by that. We want to see creatives in this galaxy that care about Star Wars. Now, at the same time, we have applauded Tony Gilroy in the past for gutting Star Wars movies and not caring about Star Wars. But there also is something really special about people like a Jon Favreau who have grown up, or J.J. Abrams, especially because J.J. got into movies because of Star Wars, that love this universe just like we do and care about it and want to do a good job. So everything that Sean has done so far, didn't he do Free Guy too?
Yeah.
Has been creative, interesting, different. And I feel like that's something that I'm really, really wanting to see with Star Wars in the future, is just something we've never seen before. Something new, not tied to the Skywalker saga, completely different, even weird. I love weird Star Wars stuff. Like Jabba the Hutt is like one of the best things to ever happen to Star Wars, and it's so crazily weird. This huge puppet that like a bunch of dudes
Admiral
are in, like
Akbar.
Admiral Akbar. Like, just give me creatures, give me weird. And I think Sean will do that with the humor that we would expect from all his other movies. I mean, he's doing Deadpool. Now I have a question for you guys. He does work with Ryan Reynolds a lot, obviously. Would you guys be okay if Ryan Reynolds was in Star Wars?
No.
Yeah.
He does have a certain like act that he does now. Like, it's very Ryan Reynolds. But I might be okay with it if he's an alien. I think he can't be himself. But if like he's
let him
he's
be
in
a
an alien
stormtrooper or something. Yeah.
No, like an alien, like a creature with a mask or something.
Like
that has
his,
like a big part.
but you're
Yeah.
saying it's still his voice and his attitude and his delivery of lines
Yes.
and stuff.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like it would be. I'd see right through it. You'd be like, "That's Ryan Reynolds."
Well, guys, let us know in the comments or in the chat right now if
He's
you
like, why don't
want to see
we
Ryan
Come
Reynolds
to
in.
Lightspeed now.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That sounded like Jim Carrey more than Ryan Reynolds.
No, I thought it sounded like
All
Ryan
right.
Reynolds. But no, I think another thing to remember about Sean Levy is that the thing that really put him on the map is Night at the Museum. Those movies,
Yep.
which are another like sort of like look into his creative imaginary side and how that's family oriented and basically like wholesome, clean fun that is pretty enjoyable about everybody from everybody. John, did you have any thoughts on Sean Levy and his comments here outside of what Lacey was saying?
Yeah, no question. Again, these are situations where we're rooting and hoping that these things happen, especially when you hear and you get like the tone of his passion and stuff, and he's very accessible in terms of like how regular of a guy he sounds when he talks. And he's like, yeah, Steve, I remember seeing your tweets about Andor, and I really was looking forward to watching it. He doesn't feel like, you see like an interview with like James Cameron, and it's just like, I am nervous that guy's gonna bite my head off. Where this guy, there's just like a warmth to him, and he seems like a regular kind of guy. His startup, there was no nepotism here. He started with being an actor, getting bit parts in TV shows, and worked his way up, started directing, and now you see the stuff he's creating. Like Lacey said, it's a lot of unique stuff, a lot of creative things. Like, we live in this world where we are in reboot sequel havens for box office and stuff, and he makes a thing like Free Guy, which I didn't particularly love because I went in thinking it was something different than it was, but I admire the fact that he's like, I'm just gonna do this, and some studio trusted his creative brain enough to be like, let's go for it, let's do it.
And it was unique. It was different.
Yeah, no question. And then the other things he's done, his work on Stranger Things, like, people forget, they say that the Duffer Brothers, but that's a lot of content, and he directed a lot of those episodes from season 1, and he's going to be doing stuff in season 5. That's a big deal because you're dealing with a young cast, kids who are coming of age, they're becoming superstars themselves, a monster ensemble cast where all these characters have a lot of arcs and depth and stuff. And you have to do it in this time period to make it feel that way and make this crazy, weird, fantastical, upside down stuff seem like this is believable, So there's a lot that goes, and the special effects on Stranger Things is otherworldly too, and they're just great. And that's a big part of being a good director too. So I like all of that aspect of it. And then what, like you said, Lacey, what he had to say about it, it's not a thing where he's like, he's the opposite of Tony Gilroy, like you said. Tony Gilroy's like, I'll do Star Wars when I'm ready.
Or how he wants to do it, how he wants to do it. Whereas I think Sean's approaching it, I want to do it how it's supposed to be done, like how I would expect it to be done.
But also, he's like, I'm going to work my ass off. And I'm saying A because you said kick ass before. So I think we.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. That's fine.
Yeah.
And Lacey, you cursed before you bleeped yourself to either, too. So
Did I?
Yeah.
What'd
I'm
I
like,
say?
I'm not repeating.
Yeah. Good luck. But my point is, him saying, like, he seems to be a huge fan. He seems to want to run through walls to make this happen. And he knows, he knows he's very dialed in. He's reading Steven Weintraub's tweets about Andor. He is tuned into what's going on. And what I mean by that is the atmosphere around Star Wars. It's not sexy to be a part of Star Wars right now if you're a director. And he's like, I want in though. I want to be the one who's like, yes, directing Star Wars is still cool. It's still the gig. It's still the bread. I want to be that guy to be like, yes. And I want to work hard. I want to earn it. Everything he's saying is right. And it doesn't feel PR to me. It feels like a guy who really genuinely loves this. And I'm very excited to see what he comes up with based on his track record. And just like the same thing with Patty Jenkins, when that was announced, I was like, I can't wait. I'm rooting for this. I want this to be good. So I'm hoping there's no stumble blocks here. It seems like this is more measured. He's like, here's the deal. Deadpool 3 first. That's getting done first.
Then come talk to me. Yeah.
Then it's Star Wars time. And it's going to be, I'm going to put my full attention to Star Wars. It's not, I'm here now. Oh, you want me now? Oh, you don't want me as much? I'm not sure. This guy's like, no, here's the deal. And this is how we're going to do it. And I really like that a lot. And I'm excited to hear more about what he brings to the table. And also, maybe he's that 2027 slot. So we have a while to see this thing. But everything he said and his passion about it gets me excited. And I'm going to, like what I do with all these Star Wars directors, I'm going to root for him and hope that we get something great out of it.
Yeah, he kind of he is excited about doing it. And I do believe what he's saying as far as being like excited about a Star Wars project. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, why would I mess that up? That's the goal. That's always been the end goal. If you would have told me that I was doing a Star Wars project years ago, I wouldn't believe you. And now that I have the opportunity, there isn't anything that's going to stop me from making that movie. You know what I mean? There isn't going to be another project or another money that's amount of money or something that's going to pull me away from that. And I think that's very nice and refreshing to hear. And in a way, like, I know it's a weird comparison, but like, if there wasn't, all this craziness about Rian Johnson and stuff, he kind of reminds me of that same vibe in the sense that Rian is like, I love Star Wars. I want to work on Star Wars. I want to come back and do Star Wars. Like, it's not ever been like, yeah, that was great, and I had a good time. And even like JJ and stuff is like, I thought I was handing it off and I was not going to return to Star Wars, and then I kind of got pulled back in, and okay, I'll do another one, so it's kind of like that. But like, I feel very positive that Rian would love to continue to do Star Wars, and hearing this from Sean Levy is also very refreshing in like what you guys had said, a sea of other people who are like it's going to be a good opportunity for me. And it's like, yeah, it's good to hear, but like, I want to know that,
call it a golden ticket.
I want the confidence that says like
golden ticket.
If you give me Star Wars,
a lot of those
you're
kids
going to have
survive.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, that's
wait, they were dead.
Well, they don't tell you. They don't ever tell you what happens to the kids.
I thought they just got like sent home.
You understand, one of them goes into a tube of chocolate. One of them blows up the size of a balloon and needs to be squeezed or juiced. And then one of them goes down a trap door. And then the other one gets made really, really tiny.
Yeah, but yeah, all of those can be fixed in this fantastical world. If you can make somebody tiny, you can make them big.
I think the insinuation is that
that's what happened to him.
Willy Wonka's killing people.
Like, bad stuff they didn't come back from that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was what they were saying. Anyway, but I just found it funny that he's like, I got the golden ticket. I'm like, okay, but like 4 out of 5 of those kids didn't do so well.
Yeah.
But maybe
that
he's
is
Charlie.
A funny comparison. No, but like I said, I think like, they gave me this opportunity and they're going to have to drag me away from it. Because I'm making a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's going to stop me, basically. And again, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say that, but that's really the vibe that I think we're supposed to get from that interview. And that's what I got out of it.
Also, he seems like one of those guys that every picture you see of him, or at least that people use of him, you're like, looks like such a nice guy.
He looks like he's having a great day in every photo. Like he looks like
Yeah, he looks like a guy that you wouldn't yell at if he like complained about his food at a restaurant. You'd be like, oh, so sorry.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about Boba Fett, if you guys want to do that. So we can move on to our next story here, and that is something that is a little bit older news, but we didn't really get an opportunity to talk about it, and we do think it's sort of important that Tamara Morrison has gone on record to say that the Boba Fett that we got in the book of Boba Fett really wasn't what he was hoping it would be, and he wants that character to be cool. He wants that character to be that mercenary, hard guy who's gonna, kill anybody at any chance. And that stuff exists in the book of Boba Fett, but I think it is one of those things that when we heard that was announced, and after we had seen him in Mandalorian, we thought that's what the book of Boba Fett was going to be about. And it very quickly set a new tone at the beginning of the show, saying, I'm done with that world. I'm walking away. I want to be presentable. You know what I mean? I want to be honored, kind of thing. And it's a good story for a character like that. But I think after years and years and years of understanding the Boba Fett character for what he was, a lot of fans are coming at it the same perspective that he is. This is similar to the Mark Hamill thing. Like, yeah, I loved it. I was a great honor. I loved doing the thing. I kind of thought it was going to be different, and I'd like to see that happen in the future if possible. I don't necessarily agree. It would have been funny if he said, I fundamentally disagreed with, like the way Boba Fett was handled. That would have been funny. It's like verbatim what Mark Hamill said. But yeah, I don't know, John, what are your thoughts on his comments about the character in the future, meaning Mandalorian or potentially the Book of Boba Fett season 2?
So yeah, I don't know that it's been confirmed. I think he is going to be in Mandalorian season 3.
He was reading lines on a beach. We know that.
Yeah. But I agree with him. I think he is saying that because he seems to also pay attention to responses to things. And I think I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett, but I enjoy all Star Wars, especially live action Star Wars specifically. So it's hard for me to be the gauge, but I think Boba Fett wasn't received as well as like Mando or even Obi-Wan and Andor. And I think he may feel like the same way some of the fans who saw that felt, which is like, I want to see Boba Fett the bounty hunter. He was that mysterious character. We didn't really know much about him. He was just cool, and that's why people liked him. And we got the exact opposite of that. And they turned a side character, which is really what he was, and gave him this monster arc and really fleshed him out and stuff, which I think is cool. But I think long term, I don't know that serves Boba Fett best. I think Boba Fett is best in short doses of awesomeness. And I think that's what he's looking for. So I don't know if we're going to get a Book of Boba Fett season 2 necessarily, or they branch that out to something else with Cobb Vanth, which that cliffhanger would lead us to believe. I think we are getting more of Boba Fett without question. I think Lucasfilm loves Tem Morrison. I think fans obviously love Tamara Morrison. We had, Mike Ramori, one of our patrons, saw him at one of the tiki bars or whatever at Celebration, and like was able to just hang out and talk to him. He seems very like a Sean Levy. He just seems like a regular nice guy, and he's accessible and stuff like that. And he loves being with the fans. He loves being Boba Fett. The fact that he's back doing this, I think he probably thinks it's crazy. The similar way that Hayden Christensen thought he would never come back. Here we have Tamara Morrison coming back in great shape, loves doing it. So if there's room for Boba Fett, I think there's a future there, and I would love to see more Boba Fett. But I do want to see, him and his ship, tracking people down and beating people up, like that episode we saw with his return in The Mandalorian. And I think people, like, when they think about Boba Fett's return, I think that's number one for most people on their list of that episode was like crazy when he got his armor back and just started doing wild stuff in the tragedy in that episode. So I'd be honestly ridiculous if I'm going to sit here and argue with the guy who has played Boba Fett for that long, Jango Fett and Boba Fett for that long, to say like, no, you shouldn't. You're wrong. You shouldn't play the character the way you want to play it. Yeah. You shouldn't want to play the character the way everyone remembered that character for 40 years. So I liked what we got with Book of Boba Fett, because then we could take that with us and apply it to him going forward. But I want to see Boba Fett do cool pew pew blow up stuff, bounty hunter stuff. And sometimes that stuff is just way tastier than nuanced character study of a guy who was just an action figure bounty hunter.
Yeah, Lacey, any thoughts on Tamara Morrison?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anybody that probably knows the character of Boba Fett better than George Lucas, you know. But Tem is right up there. He's played him for a while. He knows him. He wanted to bring him back. And like John had just said, we were kind of talking offline before the episode. That episode of The Mandalorian made me like Boba Fett. I did not like Boba Fett before The Mandalorian. I just thought he was kind of lame. I felt like his death and, Return of the Jedi was not great. He was kind of a chump. He like falls in. He's a comedic moment. The Sarlacc burps after it eats him. Like it's not like an honorable death, I would say, So when he came back and he was, pistol whipping stormtroopers and blowing dudes up with his knee rockets and blowing ships up and stuff. Like, it's really hard to then argue, oh, but I really liked the, parts where he was meditating with Tusken Raiders. Like, I'm sorry. I really like seeing him beat people up and fighting. And like, that's just what I like to see with that character. Everybody has their favorite things that they like. I love seeing him just do crazy, awesome fight scenes. And I think all three of us kind of expected that in Book of Boba Fett when we were going into it. Like, oh, based on this episode that Robert Rodriguez did, where he's just totally brutal and savage.
Not even that. Based on the trailer that they put at the end of The Mandalorian, where he walks in and shoots,
Bib Fortuna
kills him, takes over the throne. You're like, oh, that's not respectable. That's what Boba Fett would do. And then
he shoots him and rips his body off the throne.
Yeah. So it's like not just what we got, but like what we got as the trailer for the show.
Yeah.
The teaser.
I would just like to see him be a bounty hunter again. And I think that's where they left it, as people are saying in the chat as well. I think Tem is not wrong to want that. Like, he loves seeing his character do really awesome, cool, like awesome things, Jon Favreau originally pitched this show as a Boba Fett show and wasn't allowed to do it, so he made The Mandalorian. And the fact that he's now allowed to let Boba Fett play in his sandbox, that's a big deal. And he wants Boba Fett to have a little bit of backstory, so everything's explained on why he's back. But at the same time, like, we have to see him back in his prime, like making him the cool bounty hunter that we all expected him to be for the past 42, 43 years.
And Book of Boba Fett had those moments, but I think those were some of the best moments when how he destroyed the Sarlacc with the seismic charger. So cool. How he mowed down the tribe, even though they weren't the ones who did it. Him and Mando fighting in that finale together, and how he kills Cad Bane. Like,
where was it where he was in Slave One and he was shooting them as they were running away?
Book of Boba Fett.
What I know, was that Book of Boba Fett? I didn't think it was that Mandalorian, but
yeah, because they were the ones who he thought killed the Tuskens.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's all the same thing.
Yeah. So. Based on what the chat's saying, I think we all agree he's going to come back, and just maybe more.
Yeah,
more
especially
of that
in Mandalorian
classic
content.
Boba style. Yeah.
Can I give a little bit of a hot take?
Oh.
Okay, here we go.
I think it's spicy, and it'll probably not be received very well. But
just a reminder to James Baney, we are live here.
No, yeah,
I'm
that's
just-
fine. That's fine. Yeah. Um, I think that and I should say at the beginning that I do agree with this, and I like the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm fine with that. But I understand the sentiment of like we were expecting one thing and we didn't get it, and we'd like to see that. That the story was fine what it was, but maybe we wanted something different, and I'm in that
Mhm.
boat too.
Mhm.
But I'm not always on board with the argument that like Tamara Morrison knows Boba Fett better than anybody. And I know you guys said George Lucas and a couple other people too. It's not a take against anybody, but I think that argument gets held up a lot. And I'm always
Are you
like,
talking about like Luke Skywalker?
I mean,
Because
that's
I
another
think
one.
that's probably the biggest one I would say.
The
Does Mark
biggest
Hamill
one is people
know?
saying
Yeah.
that, Mark Hamill knows Luke Skywalker better than anybody. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Some of this stuff is tough because I get that they were those characters and they played those characters. And like, if you really want to say like, who would be the most real of this? It's like probably the live action actor who played that character. But I think it's a case by case basis sometimes of like who might know a character better, because sometimes I think the writer might know them better than the person who acted it. Or in some cases, like perhaps, and I don't know this, I can't base it on fact, but like, is there a writer of a Boba Fett series from Legends that just completely deep dived the character and totally understood him for years and was writing books about that character over and over and over again, And it's like they know that character deeper than the person who technically portrayed him on screen, and stuff. So, I'm also one to say like, when fans and actors get into arguments back and forth, it's usually that fans will side with the actor who played a character and say like, well, you're wrong. They know them better than you know them as a fan. And sometimes I go, not necessarily. I think there's a lot of cases where fans understand the fictional character better than the person who played him, and not maybe not always in Star Wars, but definitely in other shows where they're like,
So hold on.
no, I'm not saying
I
this
didn't-
about you.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I never said. I said, who am I to tell the guy who has played this character, Django and Boba, how he should want to play the character? Like, if he's out there saying, I want to play this version of the character, who am I to say like, you're wrong, dude? You shouldn't play that version of the character. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think what I am saying is I believe there is or could be a fan out there that's saying, man, I disagree. I don't think you understand what Boba Fett is about. In this particular case, I think most would say that they would. But going back to the Luke Skywalker thing, I think plenty of people would say, this or that about other characters or other characters' portrayals and how the actor has an opinion on how that character should have been portrayed or something along those lines. I don't
think
know.
Mark Hamill's probably the biggest one in Star Wars.
Yeah. I'm just saying I think it's a trend to say that nobody knows a character better than the person who played them. And I'm always like, I think there absolutely could be. I think there could be
Nobody
fans. There could be
knows.
writers.
I
I
don't
think there
think-
could be creators.
Because I did mention this. I don't think I was saying
Mhm.
they know them better than anybody else, but I do think that there is a strong argument that someone that's been playing a character for a very long period of time probably
Knows
the
them very
character
well.
Very well, yes.
Yes.
I have
absolutely.
two that I think are
Absolutely.
universally undeniable. Maybe I'm wrong, but C-3PO with Anthony Daniels and Carrie Fisher as Leia.
You don't think Mark Hamill knows his character?
No, I'm saying two that because you've just said people have argued with Mark Hamill about whether or not. I don't think anyone would ever say like Carrie Fisher doesn't know best as to what Leia is, and C-3PO with Anthony Daniels.
I think Anthony
Daniels
Daniels is probably the biggest one.
That's his whole like everything.
You're probably right.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, like maybe a weird example, but like who knows Han Solo better? Harrison Ford? You know what I mean?
Or Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah,
Or
Lawrence
Kasdan,
Yeah.
and it's like that maybe is not a thing you'd think about, but if Harrison Ford ever did have a weird take on Han Solo, I think fans would come to his defense like, who knows Han Solo better than so and so? But it's like there's an argument to be made that the writers or know them better, or maybe even George Lucas knows them better than Harrison Ford.
The relationship the back and forth relationship between a director and an actor or something, like Spielberg and Harrison Ford
Right.
about Indiana Jones, like him saying like, well, why I have a gun, why wouldn't I just shoot this guy? And he's like, yeah,
Right.
you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's case by case too. Like in some cases, Harrison Ford in that case would say, this is what I think Han Solo would do. And like a writer might be like, you know what? You're right. That is better. That's better than what I had. And vice versa. It goes the other way around. So,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, I don't always like that argument sometimes. Not that it's like a tried and true thing or something, but I see it pop up every once in a while that nobody knows, you know, X fictional character better than the person who played him. And I'm like, I bet a lot of fans know them better than the person who played him because they've studied and obsessed and they know that, and they read all the books and they've read the comics and they know that character better than probably the person who played Superman on that show or something. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, guys. That's it for Resistance Report this week. Do we want to go anywhere else? I'll hand it back to you, John.
I wanted to. So Lacey, you did this reaction video to, you know, it's not Star Wars related, but sometimes when we do the open chats to close the show, we talk about a bunch of different stuff. But you did react to, and I hope everyone's been enjoying these like different things that we've been doing on the channel just for these reactions, because there are other things we like, and it, you know, we're still doing the same amount of Star Wars content, if not more, in 2023 than we have been. So that, let's get that out there. But you did a reaction to the trailer for the new Adam Driver movie 65, and I thought you were pulling my chain because I'm like, there's no way Lacey's not dialed into what people are saying on Twitter. And you were like, no. And she reacted to the trailer and you had no idea it was about dinosaurs, and it just like flipped your lid.
Yeah, it was crazy. So when I saw the teaser trailer come up, I was like, oh my God, Adam Driver in a movie that's scary. This is going to be epic, because you know he gives 110% in anything that he's in. Like
the trailer looks great.
Well, the teaser trailer at first, where he's like in the cave and the alarm goes off. So now, obviously, you know, it's a monster movie, but you just know it's like 65. You're like, what could that mean? It's clearly like he's got a space gun. It's some type of space drama. So all day yesterday, I was, you know, it was a crazy day for me with work and everything. So I didn't get to watch the teaser, the trailer, and I wasn't online. So I didn't see anything about it. It was a very weird day for me because I'm usually online a lot. I wasn't. And these guys know because I usually check in throughout the day in our Discord of like what's going on. So that night we had a call, the three of us, to talk about like what's coming up next year, which we're very excited about, and Patreon and stuff like that. And I had mentioned, oh my God, I haven't had a chance to watch the Adam Driver trailer. And James had said, Lacey, you got to do a reaction to this because it's good. It's great. So last night I was exhausted.
There's a surprise in it that would be great for you to react to, which John has already said what the surprise was.
Yeah. So I just kind of went into it being like, oh, it must be super scary or something. You know, I don't know what it's got to be. So this morning I did a reaction video, and I have to say it is my most, I would say, it's been my best reaction I've ever done, because it was so genuine and so like, wait, what? What did I just watch? Because it was going one way and I'm like, oh God, scary monsters. He's in space. Now he's on Earth. What's going on? Oh my God. And then there's dinosaurs. And you're like, what is happening? And the whole time you're getting hit in the face with like, Adam Driver's got guns and he's fighting stuff and he's rolling around and there's creatures everywhere and there's raptors. And you're like, wait, this isn't Jurassic Park? Because you're just so used to and trained that anytime you see a dinosaur, I know I am, you think Jurassic Park. And it was so awesome. And it just makes me, first of all, miss Adam Driver and miss him in Star Wars. And two, miss the character Ben Solo, because I feel like that's just a glimpse of like what we could have gotten if he stuck around as the good guy in kind of like army scenes.
And listen, I saw a lot of people sort of expressing that wish as they like shared stills from it, because they compared it to him waking up in TLJ. You know, he's laying down, he wakes up, stuff. And people are good at making those side by sides. You know.
Oh my God, someone made one where Rey is touching the wall, and she's like, they had said like, she says like, show them to me, or please show them to me, and it was him and the girl. and they were insinuating like, what if it was him and their daughter or something? Oh my god, people are great. People do
And
great creative
I
stuff.
had heard like 65 is a risky title because it's like doesn't tell you anything.
I
So
had no idea, and then I felt dumb at the end of this reaction. I was like, oh,
they put up
65
million
million
years ago. Yeah. But I had heard that they changed it because they didn't want to upset Star Wars fans. That originally it was going to be called The World Between Jurassic Worlds.
Oh my god, I've now heard this joke 3 times today. This is the 3rd time, guys. Once in our Discord, once on Twitter, and once here. You're welcome.
No, I
Oh, stop!
This
You
was
don't have to
interesting.
applaud. Stop. Thank you.
This was interesting too
John's
because
always testing his jokes before he gets to the show.
yeah,
So
he's
you don't
like-
think comedians do that? They go to these like dirt clubs and try jokes out. My
I love that.
podcast version
I'm
is
a dirt club. James and I are the dirt club that you
No,
try.
Twitter
And we
is.
don't
Twitter is.
and we
Twitter's
don't react, and then he goes, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna keep moving forward with this joke.
I'm gonna start trying my stuff out on the Hive because I heard that's coming back.
Oh god.
this trailer I think was a very good trailer to market a movie. What is it? Nice, John. Want there you go.
I'm sorry, people in the comments are blowing
yeah,
up John
we're
right
getting
now,
some-
being like,
we're getting
nice
some
try.
comments. No, I think it's a very good trailer to market a movie because I feel like and John, you just recently did the Scream trailer, and I don't think there was anything in that trailer that made me feel like I was watching a mini movie. You know, I like that world of like when I put on a trailer, what I would like it to do is take me on a journey for 2 minutes, almost like as if it's a short film. And there have been a lot of trailers that people argue like, oh, you just told me the whole movie, you know, as if they're trying to take you on that journey, but they told you everything. I was like, why don't trailers just take you on a journey that tells you the premise? And in this case, it's the premise. It's like they set you up and they made you believe it was in the future. And then they tell you the premise with a twist and a reveal, and it's shocking. And it makes people be like, yo, did you see that? That movie trailer. So from a marketing perspective, I thought, wow, what a big twist. And I feel like we've had a couple other movies where like, as the trailers come out, they continue to be like, okay, I thought this was going to be like that based on the first trailer. Now I'm seeing this.
Right.
And it just gets people like talking. I think I think marketing like that needs to be done more often. And in this case, I very much applaud the studio behind that trailer because
I hope it's good.
Great.
Because it
like
looks
I enjoyed
good,
watching it.
but I can
It
tell you
does
right
look good.
now, it's gonna make money because people are interested because of dinosaurs and Adam Driver.
Adam
And
Driver
Quiet
doesn't
Place.
make money. Yeah.
And
doesn't make
Quiet
money.
Place.
Yeah. Adam Driver
don't
doesn't
think
make
he makes
money.
money?
No.
What was that movie he did with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon? It like tanked.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
nobody wanted to see a movie about someone doing terrible things to women. Like nobody wanted to watch a movie about that.
All right. I mean,
That's the whole
it's
premise of the movie.
It's all of Adam Driver's movies. Yeah, he makes
Well, except
really
Star
good
Wars.
movies, but he doesn't make. No, I know.
I
There
think
are-
for
he's
Star
been
Wars, obviously. Yeah.
strategically choosing movies that are more on the award circuit side.
I'll say this, Lacey. Based on the budget for this, I don't know what it is. I'm sure it does well. I agree because it looks really good. And it's another. Here's another thing. Like Jurassic. Like when you think of like what's a good dinosaur live action movie, people are like, I don't know. It's just Jurassic Park and its sequels and stuff. You don't like. And Lacey, you'll know what I'm saying. And I know we got to wrap up in a minute here, but you worked at WWF for a while, WWE, whatever it was at the time. When WCW went away, WWF, WWE got worse because there was no competition. Jurassic Park, in my opinion, has gotten so stale because it's like, this is our lane. We keep making the money. We'll just do whatever we got to do. Now that you have like another movie that may be really good with live action dinosaurs, Jurassic World, kind of like we were saying with the Rogue Squadron Top Gun thing, maybe like, we probably need to get back to business here and like get back into quality. You know what I mean? Like I like that there's another live action dinosaur movie.
And they
that
look
doesn't
great.
have to
The
be
dinosaurs look
tied
great.
to, yeah, like the Jurassic World stuff.
I
So-
will tell you though.
Am I
there
wrong
a
though? Is that
scene-
the T-Rex's scream? That's like the growl from Jurassic Park. It's like they use the same sound effect, right?
I'll have
They
to hear it
might.
again. I'm not sure.
because I think it's like one of those things where like if you do anything different than the Jurassic Park T-Rex, it's not going to sound right, and people are going to be like, "That sounds
But
terrible."
apparently T-Rexes
It's
don't
so
sound like that.
iconic. No, I
Didn't they-
understand that, but I'm
yeah.
saying like you can't be accurate to dinosaurs, because if somebody sees an accurate dinosaur, they're going to be like, "That's wrong," because Jurassic Park is so iconic.
I did notice something though that gave me a bit of anxiety in this trailer, outside of just like obviously dinosaurs trying to kill you. There is a shot of him when he says, his character says, "Okay, we're gonna get you home," and it's him and the little girl walking towards the camera, and there looks like there's meteors falling from the sky, and I thought in my head, I swear to God, if they kill him at the end of this movie and he dies again, I'm gonna
Oh,
lose my.
It's during the extinction.
There's meteors falling
Yeah.
from the sky, and I was just like, if he dies again, I'm gonna lose it.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
A brontosaurus is going to give him a kiss of gratitude before the last meteor hits.
I don't know if they're gonna do like the extinction, ending.
Go look at the
although that's a
trailer.
good point.
They're
I know,
coming
it's a good
across the
point. That's a good
sky.
point. I
Yeah.
can see that. But I watched that trailer, and my gut reaction to it is they both die, because they've
James,
ended up in this other world, and they're not going to get out. There's no way to break this like time loop that they've ended up in. It's going to be about family, and it's going to be about just being okay with the fact that they found each other, and this is okay.
Oof.
people
That's an Adam
don't
Driver
need
movie.
to
That's the Adam
die
Driver movie.
to
Isn't like
end
the
the
hero?
Who do I need to tell? Because I remember over the summer, and this goes back to the beginning of this episode, James Gunn, I'm getting a headache from this. James Gunn at San Diego Comic-Con talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 said, just because the story is ending, it doesn't mean the characters need to die. And that was like a bright beacon of storytelling for me. I was like, correct. People don't need to die to end the story. And I don't know who I need to send this memo to in Hollywood to stop killing everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
So I hope he gets out. If he doesn't get out of it, I'm going to get in my car, drive to Ohio to yell at James in person, because he's just ruined this movie for me.
Well, you can't spell driver without die. So, tell you.
I mean, if you look at his movies,
I
like
can't.
the Black Klansman, The
I can't.
Report, Marriage Story.
I love that
The
if I said
Last Duel,
any of
House
these things on
Gucci.
Twitter, I'd be finished
You're not.
again.
I
So glad we have
cannot
a
deal
podcast.
with all the death. I'm
Yeah.
so pumped that Wolverine's coming back, because
I'm
it
glad.
means he's not
I'm
dead.
pumped. I'm pumped that people have a sense of humor in the real world. All right, we got to get out of here because we have our Patreon.
Go watch my
Q&A,
reaction, by the way, if you haven't watched it.
at 10 o'clock. So if you are a patron of TRB, which by the way, if you haven't yet and you're able to, I know the holidays are a tough time with money and stuff, but patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Our tiers start at $5 per month. We have a lot of extra content we do over there, and we had a meeting last night, and we are very excited about our 2023 and beyond. I'm pumped about it. We feel energized. We're ready to go with this new channel, this new venture. It's TRB time. It's gonna be the year of TRB, hopefully. But go join us over there.
And hopefully Adam
Patreon.com.
Driver not dying.
Patreon.com/resistance broadcast. And if you are a patron, we'll see you in about 7 minutes for our Q&A, where you can ask us questions about anything. And I
10:30.
think a bunch of you already did. Oh, 10:30? 10. 10.
One or the other. I might have put 10:30.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys soon. But you can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We're doing Trey Parker and Matt Stone's first movie called Orgasmo, and we're going to be doing that next week. James, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Myra Trunks.
Lacey.
I love basketball. I love that movie.
It's a good movie.
From them. I remember when I watched it, I thought it was so funny, and me and my sisters would quote it for we still do all the time. Steve Perry.
There's a lot of good quotes from that one, yeah.
That movie is so good. Anyway, people can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran, on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And just so you know, TRB has updated all our social channels, so we are now on every single platform at TRB Podcasts.
Right.
So no more searching for different names or different descriptions. All the same.
Yeah.
At TRB Podcasts. You can find us all over the place, including TikTok, which we will be posting soon. And we're very excited about it with some reactions and stuff like that. But other than that, I am super excited for our holiday show next week. We have some really cool stuff. And we're already talking to like guests for next year. It's going to be a great, great year.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Did you do your Twitter stuff, Lacey?
Yep.
Yeah, I did.
All
Thanks for
right.
listening.
Trying to do my outro here.
Thanks for listening to me.
If you were late, you will find this podcast on the channel, but you will also find us on our
AKA
audio
John
podcast
Roca.
app.
John Roca, we're talking about you. You're late.
Oh, he's late, but he's here. Hey, buddy. Yanks signed Rodon. Good. We have to talk about it. Good stuff. But tomorrow, the podcast apps will get the episode up for audio if you don't want to look at these beautiful faces. But Monday, we are getting into pre-New Year hype mode for The Mandalorian, because believe it or not, come New Year's, Mandalorian Season 3 is only 2 months away, folks. And we are just going to talk all about how excited we are and what we've heard so far from all the interviews and get into full-on why we're hyped about Mando Season 3 on Monday. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for hanging with us. If you go see Avatar this weekend, have a great time. Apparently go to the bathroom beforehand because it's 7 hours and it's all about water. And
He
it's
already
cold
said
water.
he doesn't care where you go to the bathroom.
He doesn't care.
It doesn't matter.
When you're James Cameron, you don't need to care about anything.
I
at
can't
all.
wait to see it. I'm hyped. I am so hyped about that movie. I can't wait to watch it.
I got to rewatch the first one again. But anyway, have a great weekend, and we will see you Monday with another episode right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.